Hi, Miss Jessica.
Good morning.
Or should I call you J Kitty?
You always call me J Kitty.
J Kitty. All right. So this is your debut on the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
And we're doing something different today. So I'm not interviewing you. You're kind of interviewing me. You're asking me questions from the community. I get a lot of frequently asked questions regarding life, work, raising children, so many things. So we compiled a few questions that were asked inside of our Facebook group. This is our public Facebook group. So if anyone's listening to this and they want to head there, they can go to my name, Heather Chauvin, CHAUVIN.com/Facebook. This is called the Why Not You Facebook group. So, all right. Are you ready?
Ready as I'll ever be.
Perfect. Before we get into this, well, you are the magical unicorn behind the phone or
Yes.
Zoom. I don't think
Yes.
people talk on the phone anymore.
No, I don't think so either.
You're literally like the only person that calls me. And my reception is so bad at my house that you actually have to call me on like WhatsApp or something.
We make it work.
Yeah. So you are you're somebody on my team, a friend, event planner. You're so many things for me.
I wear a lot of hats for someone who actually never wears hats.
True. And I wear beanies all the time.
Exactly.
But you do the decision support calls. You're one of the team members that do the decision support calls for the women that are interested in mastery or mastery business.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. And you've been doing that since like the summer.
Yeah. That's we're probably 6 months in, which is crazy to think about that.
What have you learned from that experience when you're working with women? Because I'm sure that's going to dial right into the questions we're answering today.
For sure. Honestly, I feel like not just from the calls, but also just from working with you in general, I've really learned a lot about just letting go. Like, I feel like when I started working with you and also starting these calls, I was like, they have to be perfect every time. Like I'm like naturally, like my comfort zone is process and like control and order and organization. And I just very quickly learned like that doesn't cut it in what you're doing and what we're doing for these women. Like, you just have to like breathe and really, it sounds kind of cliche, but just let it flow and just have a conversation, and you just connect with people and just show them that you're there to help them and like listen to them. And it's just taught me so much more about being comfortable like with who I am and just trusting that I have the right intention, that we have the right intentions for these women, and that we can really help them. Like, it's been very freeing, to be honest with you.
Well, you're bringing up the transition between, the name change of the podcast, which was Mom is in Control, to Emotionally Uncomfortable, which is essentially, I know I make you very emotionally uncomfortable.
Almost every day.
In the best way possible.
Absolutely, yes.
But the essence of Mom is in Control was because that's what everyone wanted. They're like, I want to feel in control of my life. But when you're trying to feel in control of your life, you're actually not feeling, you're controlling, and you're controlling things in your life to kind of, I don't know, trick your brain into believing that that's freedom. And we do that in all areas. But somebody like you, and I'm definitely not putting you on the spot, Jessica, but
yes,
somebody you're like, damn you, I did not know I was getting myself into this.
Yes, I did.
So somebody like you, who I would say, like you said, you're process oriented. You drool at the sight of a spreadsheet.
Absolutely.
And I do not. I do not drool at the sight of a spreadsheet. But you're also really, really good with people.
Yeah.
And so you do have social skills, you do have emotional intelligence skills. The process, though, is when you are emotionally uncomfortable, right? When you're growing, when you're feeling your resistance, when you're feeling your fear, but you're doing it anyways, when you're gaining those courage muscles, that's when the tendency is to go back to control. So what can I control? I can control the process. I hear this all the time from people. I can plan, right? So they like become the planner, the crazy planner, but they never take the action, because if you take the action and you implement, that's when you're going to feel your emotional discomfort. So yeah, the closer I get to any goal, I'm telling you all the time, like, oh, my shit's coming up today. Oh, my shit's coming up today. It's like the more you jump into being emotionally uncomfortable and living your best life, doing what you want to do, going for it, it gets more emotionally messy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like that has been like a big lesson for me, is learning to be comfortable with the mess and just like, and know that no matter what the mess looks like, I'm going to come out on the other side okay. Like, I feel like I would say, honestly, in the last 6 months, that's been the biggest realization, like actually feeling that in my body, that no matter what comes up, and shit comes up, and it sure has been in the last 6 months, I'm like, I'm not going to die. Like, I'm going to be okay. Whereas before, I feel like when I did hold on to that control, it was like, well, what if it's not on my plan? What if it's not how I thought it was going to be? Like, the expectations, like, I've always been a big person about expectations too. And it's like, that just shoots you in the foot right away. Like, you're screwing yourself. So it's like, it's going to be okay.
So what I'm hearing you say, you're like, oh God, is that you can learn to be different.
Absolutely. And
your brain can change when you've been 100%. A processor, when you've been, you've had control. I'm not going to say controlling tendencies, but everyone has perfectionism.
You can say it.
You can say it. But what I'm saying is change is possible. And I want people to know that, because I think too often we're getting in a box of, I've tried it all. And I'm like, yeah, but your brain also was trying strategies that were comfortable.
Absolutely. I can't tell you how many times you've like said something to me and it's actually so simple, but I just never would have thought of it. Like, I don't even think I could list them, how many times you've said that to me. And it's just like, I don't know how to explain, because if you had said to me even a year and 2 years ago, like, oh, you're going to be like this in the beginning of 2022, I would have been like, yeah, okay, sure I am. It's wild. Like, it's just, and it just feels like, I don't know, I'm usually pretty good with words, but it just feels lighter. Like, it just feels easier than it was when I was trying to like hold on to everything for dear life. But also terrifying. Control. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, but also terrifying.
Awesome. Yeah. Okay, so let's dive into the questions. I was also noticing a theme. So everyone listening, just be like, what is the theme of all of these questions?
Yes. Okay, so some of the first questions that were commonly asked for you were around boundaries. So the first one is, how would you lovingly say no?
Yes, that was the theme that they were supposed to look for. You weren't supposed to say it. So now everyone knows.
Well, now you titled it. That's your own fault for giving me a title.
That was for you. I'm just kidding. All right. We fucked that up.
Yeah, we did.
Fucked that up. Let go of control.
Yeah, we are. Okay. How do you lovingly say no to others when you're trying to say yes to growing your business? And how do you remind yourself that this is a good thing?
Okay, so much I want to say here. So first, take out business, insert anything that you want and desire in your life. I think business is an expression of desire. So sometimes people are like, I want to improve my nutrition. I want to improve my movement. I want to improve my mental health. I want to improve our relationship. I want to travel the world. Anytime you decide to do something that is outside of your norm, people will be disrupted because they are in your energetic bubble. They are in your energetic frequency. The second you change your frequency or your routine, the people that were attached, you will see their disruption happening, right? So I'll tell you a story. When I started my business 10 years ago, I remember, so my kids were young, and I remember the mental load that I had to carry, like the mental fortitude that I had to have constantly. And I had literally nothing, and I had no data or evidence that what I was putting energy into was actually going to work. And I remember my friends dropping their children off at my house and saying to me, "Oh, you're home. I have to go do this thing, or I have to go to work, or I have to whatever. Can you watch my child?" And because in their mind, I was a quote unquote stay at home mom, and I'm using air quotes.
Right.
And I did not know back then what self-respect looked like. I didn't know what time and energy respect looked like. All I knew was there was something inside of me that they thought it was okay to just dump on me. And then, of course, guilt takes over because you feel bad because you love the children that they're dropping off and whatever. But I remember one time somebody came to the door, and my child was, I don't know, we literally had nothing. And I had childcare for like an hour a day or something, like literally we would take away from all the extras so that I could focus my energy and attention on building this thing, right? So the extra $20, $100 a week or whatever I was putting out there that we barely had. So somebody would try to encroach themselves, I don't even know if that's the right word, on that time, and the guilt would come up, everything. It is a reminder from the universe of, why did I start? Why am I doing this? And I remember specifically one time saying, "I would love to do this for you right now. I can't. I'm working on this, my business." And they pretty much laughed in my face because I didn't have a business at the time. I didn't know how to say it gracefully. And then after they left, I spent most of the rest of the day, feeling so paralyzed by guilt that it just sabotaged my productivity. So, but at that time, I did not feel grateful and happy that I set a boundary. I felt like shit, but I did hold that boundary, and I had to do that again and again, because here's the ultimate truth. I was teaching that person how to treat me. And when you have boundaries like that, you begin to teach people no, you can't just dump your stuff on other people whenever you want, right? So now I'd say, I would love to, I don't have the capacity right now. End of discussion. Write that down. You have to want what you want more than other people.
Yeah.
I can't expect my husband to want what I want, and he lives with me. I can't expect my children, my parents, my friends. I can't even expect my team, yourself included. I can't expect my team to want what I want in the business more than I want it, then I'm willing to uphold it.
Yeah.
So it's taking radical responsibility for what you want and desire, and getting a really good why, why are you starting this business? And also surrounding yourself with support. Never underestimate the power of a community who has your back, because when you are isolated and doing something by yourself, it is so easy to sabotage, and you will waste so much time, money, and energy trying to do it alone.
It's so funny when you say that, because that actually just reminds me of when I went to the first retreat. And I remember going into that being so terrified that I was alone, like that all these women, because these women that you attract are incredible women. And I remember thinking they're going to be what's this girl's problem? She doesn't belong here. She doesn't fit in here. And I can admit when I'm wrong. And I was so wildly wrong. Like it was just to see these women.
Let's put that on repeat. What did you just say? I'm just kidding.
No, you know what? I feel like I'm always, I'm okay about admitting when I'm wrong because it's very rare. It's like a little treat, like a little something different. But I just remember thinking these women who are so incredible and they feel the same as me. It was so, I don't know why I'm struggling with words today, but it was just so eye-opening to know that we're kind of all going through the same thing. Even these women who you think have their whole lives together, it's very reassuring. It makes you feel a lot better about what you're going through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're talking about when you see behind the scenes of me and you're like, oh, wow, I thought you were perfect.
Not Bob, obviously, but not just you, but just some of the women in your community. I'm just like, from the outside, you would think like,
yes,
this woman's a rock star, and she is, let's be clear. But it's nice to see that it's at all levels of people. It's the same.
It's journey. The vulnerability, right? Absolutely. It's the vulnerability of imperfection, of being human. And 100%. Again, when like your brain is designed to keep you safe. So it's always going to tell you why you're doing things wrong, why it's not good enough. Mm-hmm. And then you look behind the scenes and you're like, oh my gosh, everyone else feels the same. But the only difference is maybe they keep moving forward, where your tendency may be, not you specifically, I mean, people will be to stop and stay stuck and sabotage. And that's the difference between somebody who's willing to be emotionally uncomfortable versus somebody who's willing to be emotionally safe. And, fear, depression, overwhelm, fatigue, worry, doubt can be very addictive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Next question. Back to business. Order, control.
Perfect.
How do you politely say to somebody, why don't you just Google it? So in the event planning I do for you, and other things that I do, I've had clients track me down and ask something that I would think is like a very simple question. And obviously, like, I'm always going to help them. But sometimes I'm just thinking to myself, like, why wouldn't you just look this up? So how do you politely encourage people to do that for themselves?
So this is actually a really, really good question, and something that I deal with on a daily basis when clients are messaging me or they're messaging their mentor. And the funny thing is there's no new information. I find it's the fixed versus growth mindset. So somebody with a fixed mindset will say, I can't. Somebody with a growth mindset will say, how can I? And I realized early on in coaching that I was teaching growth mindset of, if you knew the answer, what do you think it would be? So first of all of these questions are prefaced with, how can I nicely? Which means I believe we have a belief that holding a boundary is not nice. So when you have that belief and you act on it, you constantly abandon your value, your time and your energy to please somebody else. So you, one, need to take ownership for that. Two, if your intention is to be nice and respectful, it's okay. You're probably going to say it nicely and respectfully, but ask yourself, how can I? If you know that this is a trigger for you, make a Post-it note so that that's your go-to. The strategy behind that is, one, if you're triggered, your anger, frustration, whatever comes up, please do not project that onto other people, because then they just, you're puking on other people, right? So you need to learn to manage that. Two, when this comes up, simply say to that person, great question. Have you tried to Google it? ? Done. Done. Or if you have a resource, I talk more about that on my podcast. I have a book. Go read the book. That's a great question. And then sometimes that's not even a question that you should answer. So ask. So if you're like, okay, who else, where should they know this answer? Maybe you're pawning that off on an assistant that you have. But if you're like, oh, they could Google it, be like, I actually don't know. I don't know that answer off the top of my head. A quick Google search will help you. Or maybe you do know that. Hey, I'm happy to have that conversation with you. Let me know if you want to pay my consulting fee.
Yeah.
Try to make a system in your mind and ask yourself, how can I? So a lot of people will say this to me, not clients, but publicly will ask me like, one time you talked about this on your podcast, what number was that? And I'm like, okay, they keep asking these questions, right? How can I? So if you go to the website, heatherchauvin.com/podcast, we've categorized all the podcasts. So if you're like, I just want parenting podcasts, you go to categorize and it says parenting, and then you can listen to the parenting. But if someone's like, specifically, I want to know XYZ, I will either just send them to heatherchauvin.com/podcast, or I just won't answer their question. Because I'm like, I don't have the capacity for that. And also, you don't have to be rude. It's like, that's a great question. Go listen to the podcast. Oh, well, you have like 1,000 podcasts. Great. Then come coach with us. And you're going to get your answers so much quicker, and you're going to do it rather than just trying to find free resources. You're going to be held accountable to doing the work, the emotionally uncomfortable work. So just be like, hey, you know what? That's a great question. Happy to get in a longer conversation with you about it. Click here to book a consult. The fee is this much. Or I'm sure you can find that answer and so much more by a quick Google search. Just let them know, but ask yourself, how can I coach instead of do for these people? I do it for my kids all the time.
For sure. It's funny you say that, because I feel like I've encountered that definitely myself. And I sometimes get triggered by those questions. And you've really taught me to like take a second and like look at my trigger before I say anything, because it's like look at your own crap. Don't just snark at somebody when you're like, why? Well, this is so easy. Like, I know where the answer is. So interesting.
Yeah, because think about how many times you have had a question and you're like, I know this is an easy answer, but my brain just can't commute where to go for this information. So then you approach that person, you're like, this is a really stupid question, and you feel silly asking it. Don't you feel so much better when that person's like, no worries, like, and then they're coaching you. They don't have to give you the answer. They're like, no worries. Actually, I guarantee you, if you do a quick Google search, you're going to find it. Every time I do, it's on the front page.
Yeah.
I'd be like, oh my gosh, didn't think about that. Thank you.
Yeah. It's hard when you feel overwhelmed too by whatever is going on in your life, and you're like looking for this solution as the person asking the question. It can be hard. So you're right. Like, being met with kindness when you feel like you're asking a stupid question is like I think a big gift.
So I will get a lot of people, especially inside the coaching program, asking questions that either they have access to in a module, or again, a quick Google search. And I always say I'm a recovering rescuer. And I think most women are like, we want to do for other people. Like, it'll take me 5 minutes. I'll just do it. So instead of doing that, I go into coach mode and I will ask questions. What modules did you look at? Well, I didn't look at any modules. Awesome. Go check out module 3 and 4, right? Yeah. Then come back and ask me if you have any questions. They come back and they're like, solve my own problem. Awesome. Did you go to YouTube? YouTube will have 1 million tutorials. Didn't even think about that, right? So remember, sometimes people are asking these questions because they don't want to get emotionally uncomfortable. So when you're teaching people how to treat you, that person eventually will not come back to you. And they're like, I know what she's going to say. So I'm going to, it's like, what would this person say? Okay, now I'll go do that. And then I'll come back. So I always tell people, I'm here for you, reach out, but they don't know how to ask questions. And so it's my job to teach them how to ask questions. And I always say, come to me, start with something, and then I can give you feedback on it.
Yeah.
They're like, I'm stuck. And I'm like, well, what have you tried? Nothing. Awesome. What do you think you should try? Well, I should try this, 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 but that is against my perfectionism. That's whatever. I'm like, do that, send it to me. Then I can give you feedback on it, because you have to remember empowering other people, right? Rather than disempowering.
For sure. That actually, I think, is a good transition into your next question. Somebody's asked is, what is your go-to when you're trying to shift your energy into more of like trusting and possibility? Because I feel like that works there, where you're kind of like shifting from what comes up naturally when someone asks something like that to how you handle it.
Okay, so let me give you an example. Right before this call, I said to you, I feel like shit. I'm in a shame spiral. I'm in the middle of something. I'm taking action. The results have not produced yet. I'm emotionally uncomfortable. Having this conversation with you has already shifted my mental mood, right? Like I'm excited, there's connection, all of that. One, getting super crystal clear on where you are on the emotional guidance scale. If you don't know what the emotional guidance scale is, look it up. Google it. Emotional guidance scale. Don't ask me where to find it. Google emotional guidance scale. That was like half a joke, but not really. And somebody's going to send me a message now and be like,
where do I find it?
Where's the emotional guidance scale? Like as a joke. And they'll be
I'm
like,
going to send it to you when we get off.
Yeah. Ha, ha, ha. Anyway, so find the emotional guidance scale. You'll find it all over the internet. And print it off, put it on your phone, put it on your fridge.
Tattoo it on your arm.
Tattoo it on your arm. And ask yourself, where am I, right? Where am I in this moment on that scale? The higher you get up on the scale, that's how you start manifesting. So people think they can live their life in an angry, depressed, fearful state, and they're going to manifest joy and ease and abundance. No, you don't just make your vision board and cross your fingers. That's not how it works. So what do you do to become hopeful? Well, why did you start? But I believe that there's like this huge cultural belief, because we have such shitty relationships with our emotions and feelings, that people believe that emotions are bad. Yeah. Right? Because we don't like the feeling of them. So we're like, what am I doing wrong? Why isn't this working? I'm like, who said it's not working? Who said it's wrong? Who said it's like good or bad? Who said it's bad? It's just, you've been taught and conditioned that anger is bad, frustration is bad, fatigue is bad, worry is bad. Use it to guide you. So I am also a huge fan of creating a relationship with your emotional state. So I'm like, all right, worry. I talk to my emotions. So I know you're laughing at me, but I'm always like, why are you here? Like, why are you here? Like, what's going on? And instead of just discounting how I feel and being like, I feel like sleeping all day, and then going to bed and crying myself to sleep and binging on Netflix and being like, boo-hoo, right? Having a pity party that lasts forever, and then just crossing my fingers and waiting until that energy lifts. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go for a walk, talk to my feelings. I'm like, what's going on? And it's like, it's just temporary. Like, this is how you develop that deeper state with yourself. And then slowly you self-coach yourself to pick a higher feeling thought. And I'm like, okay, like, how can I? And you have to like grab on to possibility. So sometimes I'm listening to something that feels really, really good, like positive, motivational in my ears on a podcast or something. Sometimes I'm going for a run, going for a walk, drinking my water, putting nutritious food in my body, talking to good people, reviewing my strategy, my plan, talking to somebody else, connecting with a colleague, network, all of that fun stuff. But it's reaching for that higher feeling thought, right? Knowing that everything is temporary. So I have a belief that all my emotions are temporary. This too shall pass. When I didn't believe that, I would lie in bed all day, or I would sabotage my bigger vision. So you have to hold the belief that change is possible.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, we're gonna do some more like personal family kind of questions now. So, how do you go about family meetings? Do you and your partner work on the meetings together, or is it more like whoever kind of gets the meeting ready is the person in charge? How do you handle those fun things?
I'm just laughing because you know my husband.
Yes.
And I feel like anytime I'm like, it's family meeting, there's a slow eye roll. So, but I would say there's less of an eye roll now. And yeah. So the reason why I say this is because a lot of people have a belief that they and their partner are supposed to be on board with everything.
Yeah.
And I don't believe that. I believe that I, Heather, am a human, a soul having a human experience. My partner is a soul having a human experience. And all of my children are little souls or big souls having a human experience. We are all individuals.
Right.
With our own agenda, our own desires, and biology and beliefs.
Mm-hmm.
Me, Heather Chauvin, I'm not God, nor are all of my ideas right, or my way or the highway. Shut up. My point of why I'm saying that is because the male brain and the female brain work very differently.
Yeah.
And just because I want a family meeting, the reason why I want a family meeting is for my own agenda. I want a family meeting because I'm trying to control something. I want a family meeting because there's a desire inside of me that wants some order or some like cohesion, whatever. Not saying that that's bad, but understanding that that is your agenda.
Right.
So just imagine if everyone else in your house was trying to press their agenda on you all the time, how that would get old super quick by feeling like you're being controlled and manipulated.
For sure.
So the reason why I'm prefacing this conversation with that is because just is to have compassion and empathy for other people that they may not be on board the first try. And they're subject to their own opinion. So sometimes you're having a meeting by yourself the first time.
I just love how honest that is, though, because it's true. No, and just like the honesty around it's your agenda, because I don't think people think that way. I think people think that, like you said, like they're God. Yeah. And like, because I mean well, everybody should just automatically fall in line because I've like, made this amazing decision.
Yeah. And sometimes you're trying to get other people on board. And the reason why, and then you get angry, right? And you're like, they're not listening to me. But what you're actually trying to do is manipulate their energy. And you're coming from a perfectionist and all or nothing thinking. So I go into everything knowing that there's an integration phase. So the first meeting, I don't even think we've ever had a full family meeting. So my children are 17, 12, and 9. If I attempted to have a full family meeting right now, someone would say, I just want to play video games all day, every day. Someone else would say, this is stupid. And the other person would say, I'm hungry. Like, we can have family meetings, we can do whatever, but it takes time to train people to have a family meeting. That's my point. But what I would do is when I started the meeting process with myself, first, every Sunday, I would have my calendar laid out. This was my energetic time management. I can hear lots of noise upstairs. Anyways, so energetic time management, I would have a meeting with myself. Mm-hmm. Then I would go to my husband, I'd go to Brian and say, can I let you know what I'm up to this week? I'm just curious if you have anything on your mind that you want to integrate in here so that there's less conflict throughout the week and we're both aware of what's going on, where the kids need to be, all of that fun stuff. What do you suggest? What do you need? Mm-hmm. And at first it was just me with the calendar and him passively telling me, I'm like, awesome. Is there anything, what's your focus for the week? And I would actually write down like his name and what he was focusing on. And then that way I could go back to it, right? Like during the next meeting. So I guess that to answer the question is, if you want a family meeting, have a family meeting, but don't have expectations that everybody's going to be on board with what you want. And then get clear on why you're having the meeting. And then maybe also preface it with or sandwich it with something fun, like do something after that's enjoyable. But get clear on why you want one in the first place, and ask your partner what would be successful for them, or your children after the meeting.
Yeah. A little more collaboration instead of dictatorship.
100%.
So that actually, again, ties into the next question is, what do you do when your partner isn't on board with what you want or your bigger vision?
There's many times that my partner is not on board. We've been together for 14, 15 years, and, I'm a visionary, and I want what I want. At first, when I didn't have the confidence to want what I wanted, I could easily be persuaded when people were when Brian would say, I don't think that's a good idea. And then I would find myself getting angry. And so now I know that when I'm angry, there's something there that I actually wanted, and I'm not giving myself permission to go for it. Mm-hmm. So anger is an indicator, right? Why does this make me angry? And if you let anger stew, it's going to turn into resentment. And then you're finding yourself resentful towards your partner because you won't give yourself permission to want what you want.
Right.
So giving yourself permission to want what you want is not your partner's job. It's your job. Yeah. But here's the thing. The reason why we ask questions like this is because we don't want to be a disruptor. We don't want to disrupt the peace, mm-hmm. or perceived peace. So when you start being the disruptor and saying, hey, I'm going to start doing this, and they're like, I don't like that. I don't like that. Their energy starts shifting. Sometimes they get angry. Sometimes they get frustrated, and you're like, and you just have to talk about it. You literally have to talk about it on a daily basis. So one, surround yourself with people who do support you. And if you can't find it in your life, then you pay for it. Mm-hmm. You have to put yourself inside communities. We talk a lot about this. We're huge advocates of this inside of our mastery and mastery business communities. People underestimate the value of community, and then they get in one and they're like, holy crap, this has completely accelerated my growth. I didn't know that I needed this. And I'm like, yeah, I didn't know I needed it until I had it either. So surround yourself with those people. It's not your partner's job to actually support everything. And then I see the opposite, where people are supported by their partner, mm-hmm. but they won't give themselves permission to do what they do. And so sometimes we're using our partner as an excuse as to why we won't take action on something, when in reality it's you, it's not your partner. Mm-hmm. And then have those emotionally uncomfortable conversations. Are you okay staying exactly where you are right now for the rest of your life just to please your partner? How about you just say, listen, it's not working anymore. I don't want to be a stay-at-home mom. I don't want to be a work from home mom. I don't want to work. I don't want to stay at home. I want to travel more. I don't think this is working. Communicate, speak your truth. And if it pisses them off, let's talk about it. Wow, I see you're really angry and frustrated. But you have to hold and own who you want to be. If you don't hold that and own that, every day you're dying. Every single day you're dying. You're killing off your soul. You're killing off your body, your mind. And then if you don't think you're emotionally uncomfortable now in your contrast and your pain and what you don't want, just put another 5 years onto it, another 10 years onto it. You'll be like, how did this happen? Every day, slow drip. You develop the habit of not honoring your needs and not communicating them. Mm-hmm. And to be honest, I would be so sad if my partner came to me 10 years from now and said, I have to be honest with you, this isn't going to work. I'm miserable. And I'm like, why didn't you just tell me? Why didn't you just tell me how you felt? Oh, I didn't want to disappoint you. But like, I care, right? I care. And so I think creating space, when you decide you want something different, you're also giving the other person permission to do that as well. So it's just ripping the Band-Aid off and having those emotionally uncomfortable, have the emotionally uncomfortable conversations and surround yourself with people who do support you.
For sure. I think that, so obviously after having those conversations, one of the questions that came up was, what are your favorite activities to do with your partner to build connection? So I feel like when you have those conversations, it can be very uncomfortable. So how do you then like reinforce the connection and the bond and the like working together, even in moments where things feel uncomfortable or at odds or different or whatever?
To be honest, I think having those conversations is what creates connection.
Yeah.
Because people have this perception that connection equals time or time equals connection. I don't believe that to be true. Mm-hmm. Like, I feel well connected with a lot of people that I don't spend a lot of time with. Mm-hmm. And we've all had experiences where we spend a lot of time with people, but we don't feel connected to them. And so it's because they're just not willing to be vulnerable and to go that extra layer. And I feel like if you feel disconnected from somebody, it's because you're avoiding an uncomfortable conversation. And if you have that uncomfortable conversation, you will feel more connected to them. Love notes, like tell people how they make you feel, like show appreciation for them. This has been an interesting season, like raising a teenager, and talk about disconnect. I get a lot of questions from people asking about relationships and how do you create connection? Well, what is the energy that you're projecting towards that person? So sometimes there's a lot of anger, there's a lot of resentment, there's a lot of frustration. One, you have to learn to deal with your own emotions towards that person. If you're projecting them onto that person, they're not going to want to feel connected to you. So one, deal with your own emotional shit. Mm-hmm. Two, like look beyond that frustration. If I'm doing that with, my teenager about how frustrated I am for all the things he does wrong. Well, first of all, that's my perception of wrong. I'm not using empathy and connection. So if I do use empathy, I'm like, he's trying. Like, what is he doing right? And acknowledge what they are doing right instead of focusing on what they're doing wrong.
Right. I like that. Okay. Next few questions.
Before I cut you off, I also just want to point out that everything that I just said, how to create connection with another human, does not cost you $1.
Yes.
So stop pretending that you need to invest thousands of dollars to feel amazing in a relationship.
It's funny the stories we can tell ourselves to stop from just doing the work. I feel like that's probably one of the biggest things I've learned from you is to like cut the shit of like dancing around what I'm trying to get to and just get to it. Like
have the uncomfortable conversations.
Yeah, those are my favorite of all your words that you put together. Okay, question came in a little more shift into professional stuff. I started a private practice and feel really good about it, but have barely noticed how far I've come. How do you notice every day and or celebrate and let things be enough while still striving for more?
Yeah, I think this is a challenge for most humans, male, female, non-binary, like humans in general. Mm-hmm. Celebrating ourselves. So our brain has a negativity bias. It's always going to go to the not enoughness. Mm-hmm. So everyone, please be mindful of that. The like default setting on your brain is to keep you safe. Mm-hmm. So it will be like, I don't have enough. I don't have enough. I don't have enough, right? You see that all the time. It's why people stay stuck. It is practice. I'm going to repeat again. It is practice. I'm going to repeat this again. It is a muscle. It is practice to celebrate yourself. So write it out every single day. Like if you have to in the morning or right before you go to bed, I feel like people may have more capacity before they go to bed, even though they might be tired. But like journal next to your bed, do it for 30 days, one line. Like, what did you actually do good today? Bullet points. Do it for 30 days. Keep reading that journal of like, holy shit, look at all the magic I'm doing. Like, look at how far I've actually come. It takes intentional effort. It's the same as when you're like, looking at your or not looking at your money and you're like, how come my bank account is empty? It's because you're on default setting. But if you actually started saving your money or being conscious of your spending, your bank account will go up. And you're like, oh my gosh, how did this happen? So where your energy goes, your energy flows. So one, I just want everybody to be mindful that it is normal for you not to celebrate yourself. Also, we all have trauma of some capacity of like, self-doubt and self-punishment and all of that. So just make it a practice to do the opposite. What did I do well today? How far have I come? What actions have I taken? And then go back and like read your evidence journal, right? Here's all the evidence of how fucking awesome I am.
No, I agree with you. I also think people think it has to be some like monumental, like they moved a mountain every day. So, and I don't think that at all.
100%. And you and I have been on our, food and movement journey for a while. And on the days, like every day, my coach would say, chop wood, carry water, like get her done. And there's a lot of mental stuff that happens about get her done, but I'm not killing myself every day. I'm drinking my water. I'm eating like the things that normal humans should be doing. I'm doing movement. There's nothing sexy about that. And I think we have a perception, like we're so addicted to the dopamine hit, so that when we're not, or an adrenaline junkie. So when we're not super stressed out and like waiting till the last possible second, or we're like getting that dopamine hit, it's like unsexy. So therefore we think we're doing something wrong. And when I look back, I'm like, yeah, I'm achieving my goals, but this, who cares? Like, it's just habit and routine now. Mm-hmm. It's like, yeah, it's actually not sexy to achieve goals, which is why I always talk about, how do you want to feel? How do you want to feel? How do you want to feel? So learning to celebrate yourself is the exact same thing as like getting your water in every day. Mm-hmm. It's not really sexy. You're just like, oh yay, I feel hydrated. So it's these tiny habits that you do to focus on your bigger why. Like, why do you want to celebrate yourself? What is that? How is that going to make a bigger impact in your parenting, in your relationships, in your life in general? So sometimes the act that you're doing in the moment is not the thing that's going to keep you going. So you got to focus on the bigger why. And your bigger why might be, I just don't want to feel like shit anymore. It doesn't people also overcomplicate, like, I don't know what my why is. Why do you want change? Because I just don't want to feel like shit. There you go. That's your why to start with. I don't want to feel like shit.
Exactly. Okay.
One more. Pick wisely.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think this kind of goes along with that a little bit. How do you create space for yourself during the day when you feel like you're not in control of your time and schedule?
So there's a belief there that you're not in control of your time and your schedule. So I just want you to think, how can I? If you want to defend that statement right now of like, well, Heather, you don't understand. Like, I work for somebody else. I don't have control over my schedule or my children, blah, 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 or whatever. Just watch how defensive you got. Watch how that energy was being projected from a place of anger or resentment. The wall goes up. Therefore, you're not even going to hear what I have to say. You get to keep what you defend. If I defend why I'm so angry, I get to keep my anger. If I get to defend why I don't have enough time during my day, I'll never find enough time during my day. One, there's also a huge unlearning. So, Jessica, I know you have like a 9 to 5 job, corporate job. It has taken me years to undo the belief that if I am not working between the hours of 9 and 5, I'm lazy.
Yeah.
It's an undoing.
Yes.
So first of all, like, let's just talk about labor rights. I'm pretty sure as a human who works for somebody else, and I'm talking about people with a 9 to 5 job where they're like somebody else is their boss. That's kind of the premise of how I'm prefacing this, but you can insert work at home mom, stay at home mom, woman, whoever you are. So I'm pretty sure you have a right to go to the washroom during the day. You have a right to eat. You have a right to like breathe, but sometimes you may choose not to. Sometimes you may tell yourself, I just need to power through. I just need to get this done. Then I will. So just admitting that you're part of the problem. Also, when you get to a point where you can understand how you can be more productive for somebody, you can then sell them on a more flexible schedule. So I've done this. We do this actually a lot with our clients inside of Mastery, because a lot of our Mastery students are working moms, working professionals, working corporate, work at home, whatever that is. And the business students also do this. But I always say, what is your ideal calendar? Like, write it out. Who cares if they don't let you do it? Write it out. What's your realistic ideal calendar? So not like, oh, I'm not working at all and I'm just working for 2 hours on Friday. No, you still have a job. What is the ideal? Well, I'd like to start a little bit later and then I could stay later, or I could actually shave an hour. I have every Friday off, or one Friday a month. Like, what is that, like 10% better? Like, just push the edge a little bit. Present that to your boss. Listen, is this possible? How about we reevaluate? Your desire is that my energy output, like my productivity, is the same or higher. Can we test this? Because my feeling is that if I am more rested, more restored, and more thriving human, I'm going to be better for you. Right? Because when you're presenting or trying to sell something to a boss or a manager or something, they're always like, what's in it for me? What's in it for me? They don't gain value from burnt out employees. And I see this all the time. People are burnt out, they're overwhelmed, and they're like, but this, my schedule. And I'm like, did you present a solution? They're like, no. Like, you can't expect them to read your mind. We're headed into post-COVID territory, great resignation, all of this. I will never forget my clients during COVID saying, I don't know what I would have done without you. Literally getting recognition from their boss stating, I don't know what you're doing, but keep doing it, because they learned how to manage their energy and their time. Getting, I just posted this on Instagram, getting bonuses, getting and feeling better about it. And their mind is just blown. They're like, how do I feel better, more energized? Plus I got a bonus and a promotion. And I'm like, yeah, it's called alignment. You learn how to manage your mental energy, your physical energy, your emotional energy. Guess what? You feel better, you do better. And you can still have that time with your children at home. They're like, this is just mind blowing to me. I'm like, it's not that we all need to leave corporate and hate our lives. Maybe you do. Maybe you've outgrown that and you need to create something new. Or you need to realign, feel stronger so that when you do make that next choice, it's more aligned and you're coming from a more confident place. So yeah, that's it.
That's it. So simple.
Put yourself on your goddamn to-do list on your calendar and just try it for a month, 10 minutes a day in the middle of the day. Go for a walk, drink some freaking water. You're a goddamn houseplant. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever take your plants for a walk?
I think that's a thing. Again, I think people like build it up in their mind, like, oh, to feel this way during the day, like I have to have all this flexibility. So like I do have a set shift and I don't have the ability to make a move on that based on where I work. But that doesn't mean I don't have control over how I feel during my day. Because you're absolutely right. Like if I know when my energy is lower, I have to find a way to do something to fix that, because otherwise my whole day is just going to go in the shitter, and that nobody likes that. I'm a better human when I do those things for myself. I mean, how many times have I said that to you? When I go to the gym, when I eat well, when I do certain things for connection, like I could bring about world peace. Like,
yeah. So I know for you, morning routine has improved a lot, which trickles throughout the day. So everyone has heard it, I think, now till, everyone always like morning routine. And then the pushback you get is, I can't get up. I'm tired. It's like, yeah, get emotionally uncomfortable. Like, and also it doesn't need to be an hour long. It could be 5 minutes long. Do something. Get in the shower, put it on cold. Just try to jolt your body a little bit. Like just push your edge. So once you get to a point, I texted you this morning. My alarm went off at 5 a.m. and I got up and I'm like, this has taken me years to get here. Like I've never been a part of the 5 a.m. club. And you know what? Tomorrow might be a different day. But my point is, it's always 1 degree better every day. Mm-hmm. And then at nighttime routine, like I'm going to say it, nighttime routine, review the next day and be like, am I prepared? So things like preparing food. I don't know why we go through our whole lives, decades, and go, oh yeah, like every day I need to eat. Like when will I learn this lesson? If you prepare food as fuel and you're eating that throughout the day and hydrating yourself, your energy will completely change. That's like basics. People aren't doing the basics. Then asking yourself, how do I feel? How do I feel? And when did my energy spike today? And when did it go down? Do I need to maybe get up at a certain time and go outside and sit there, sit on the porch, even if it's cold, for 5 minutes? Do I need to do some jumping jacks? Like what the fuck do you need to do? Reflect on your energy levels. When did it go higher? When did it go lower? So sometimes I'll even say to myself, wow, I've been working a lot. I need to get away. Or I'm on social too much. Like delete. Like pay attention. Mm-hmm. Pay attention. Okay. Yeah. Anything else?
No, I think that's all of them.
Awesome sauce. J. Kitty, Jessica.
Yes.
Thank you.
This was fun.
Fun. We'll do it again.
Oh boy. Okay.
So what do I want to tell them? Oh, even this conversation, a lot of people don't know this. So inside of our mastery program, which is really about alignment and how you want to feel, time, energy, relationships. And sometimes people come in and they're curious about a career transition, but they want to feel aligned themselves. Because I find sometimes career coaching can definitely go in the direction of seeking that external validation of like the next career. And then you go in the next career, but you haven't changed. Yeah. So people have questions about career inside of mastery of what is that for me? But so much more is going to happen in your life. But we get a lot of women who actually get the coaching paid for by their corporation because they have personal development or professional development or leadership budgets. Mm-hmm. So if that is you, check it out, make magic happen. And you can go to heatherchauvin.com/work with me. Mm-hmm. And you could book a call with somebody on the team.
Like me.
Like Jessica. You might get Jessica.
If you're lucky.
If you're lucky. All right. Thank you.
Bye.
There it is. You just listened to the Emotionally Uncomfortable podcast. If you want to take this conversation to the next level, head on over to our private Facebook group community, heatherchauvin.com/Facebook. My last name is spelled CHAUVIN. That's heatherchauvin.com/Facebook. Or you can text the word Facebook to 313-710-5199. That's 313-710-5199. It's a U.S. phone number and text message rates will apply. Also, if you are a huge fan of this show, please rate and review it on iTunes. Every review helps another woman like you take back control of how she wants to feel and become emotionally uncomfortable. I truly believe the better we feel, the more alive we become. This is how we are going to change the world. And if you've been watching me for a while, if you've been on the fence and you're curious, how can Heather help me? Head on over to heatherchauvin.com/work with me to check out my mastery and mastery business coaching programs. That's heatherchauvin.com/work with me.